Today's episode of In the Trenches is brought to you by System 12 Guitar Method. Sign up today at ryanroxie.com.
In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.
Hey, hello, and welcome to our first ITT Fridays. I am your host, Ryan Roxie. What am I hosting? Hell, I don't know. I just got my cocktail. Thank you very much. I love you. It's haphazard in here. The studio is crazy right now. This is our first In the Trenches live stream on a Friday. I couldn't be excited. I just ran from the other room. I'll explain everything in a little bit. But welcome to the show. If you are listening to us on an audio broadcast, you obviously didn't see me fly in here. But what you did see and what you will see, you have to see at the YouTube official channel. So if you're listening to us on the audio, thank you very much. But make your way on over to the YouTube official channel, which is Ryan Roxie Official on YouTube, and hit that subscribe button right there. There you go. I see some faithfuls in the live chat right now. Thank you for showing up day in and day out, especially on this Friday. And are you ready? Oh, man, I'm winded now, Vic. I'm winded. I hope the experiment is working. We shall see what happens. But welcome to Into Trenches. Today's guest is not only one of the coolest guitar builders and with his company, Rock and Roll Relics, that I know around today. Like myself, he's a rock and roll relic himself. He's been in the trenches as well for as long as I have. It's going to be a pleasure today to sit back and talk about all things past, present, and future, and especially all things guitar. Would you welcome, from the band Jetboy and the man currently playing in the guitar in the band Buckcherry, Mr. Billy Rowe. Hello, Billy.
There he is.
Fucking hell. You have no idea what's going on right now. Well, thank you very much for joining us on our first In the Trenches Friday, Billy Rowe. Thank you for wearing your reader glasses as well as mine. So matching readers. And thank you for making the time, taking the time out, because Buckcherry is currently on tour somewhere in the US. Am I correct in saying that?
Yep, we are. We just we're on, what is it? This is going to be the fifth leg, I guess. So we're playing
the fifth wave or the fifth leg.
It's early for me, so fifth leg.
Right on.
I think it's going to be show 49 tonight.
You guys have been going out throughout it. You're troopers. You have definitely been trooping out, and there it is. Vic just put up the tour schedule for Buckcherry. So where does that lead us tonight? If you're watching it, you're somewhere in Minnesota, I see.
Minnesota, yeah.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Minnesota.
Well, let's get into this present thing, because right now, that's all the rage and all the news is that you are one of the only bands having a show tonight, probably, because everyone else, it seems, in the friggin' US is canceling their show tonight. But you guys are going strong. I heard you had already been through the second, third wave, if you will, throughout the band. The band had already gone down with a couple cases of the vid, but it came back, right? You had to cancel some date?
Yeah, it just canceled a short run of shows.
But you're back, and that's the thing, and that's the good news about it. And how have the shows been? How honestly have the shows been going on this run so far?
They've been going great since the beginning. It's been good crowds and diehard fans.
So, I mean, you can prepare me, because I'm going to go out there. All of us in the Alice Cooper band are so looking forward to going out there with Ace Frehley in a couple weeks. What's the general tone like? Because I'm thinking that there's going to be people in hazmat suits, or there's going to be, or it's going to be a free for all. And I've just been told not to swallow the mic. Am I swallowing the mic now? You can only see that. You can only see that on the YouTube official channel, folks. All right,
Uh-huh.
is that better? All right, so my audio, I'm excited, Vic. That's the reason I'm talking to Billy Rowe. Billy and I have known each other for a long time. He's actually out on the road right now. He's doing it, folks. We're going to be doing it in a couple weeks. What's the attitude like with the crowds? What are they going nuts or?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see occasional people in the mask. There's going to be, wherever you go, but for the most part, it's pretty old school rock and roll show. People packed together in a venue, and it's been, there's been no issue really,
Are there any protests in front of the shows?
No, haven't seen any of that.
No picket signs.
No.
My feeling is that
actually pretty funny.
Well, if you just let rock and rollers, sort of suss it out with themselves, like the extreme views of both ends, because we know that our audience has both, there wouldn't be as much problems. I don't think. I think if you could settle it all at a rock show,
right?
No?
Yeah.
Leave it all down at a rock show, I say. So you guys are in Minnesota tonight. We're going to talk a lot about what you've done in the past, because both you and I have a lot of similarities. In fact, I was hoping that you were going to wear your red, white, and blue wristband today. Oh,
yeah, that's right.
And I don't have mine. I can go back in the other room and get it if you want, Vic. I can go do another sprint across the house and get. But I did see in one of the photos that you chose, that you picked up one of the early photos, because there's going to be a lot of photos, folks. That, again, if you're just listening to us on audio, you're cheating yourself. You're fooling yourself. You don't believe it, as Dennis DeYoung would say. He was our guest. We had Dennis DeYoung from Styx.
Oh, I know.
I mean, growing up, wasn't Styx one of those bands? I mean, because we're Bay Area guys.
Yeah, I saw Styx in '78.
What?
Yeah, Pieces of 8 tour.
Damn, dude, you had really good parents or really bad parents. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, a lot of my friends, we were able to go to the shows. I had an older friend, a couple years older, and he used to be kind of the chaperone guy my parents trusted. So,
well, let's dive right into that. Going back to Get Forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's. No dead air time with Vic, our producer today. Every second counts, man. I was like already 2 minutes late trying to hopefully okay, here's the experiment, guys. Before we go back to Get Forward, what's happening now, I did it so like hodgepodge Wayne's World. I put my iPhone in front of my other laptop while this show was beginning, and I started an Insta Live video. So people are actually watching the show on Instagram via my cell phone going into my, I think it's a loophole. I think I found a loophole of how to do it, but we'll see if that spillover comes from Instagram and they come over to visit on us on ITT Fridays. Because this, we've done the show Tuesdays for the last, over a year now. Almost a year and a half. We've been doing Tuesdays, and we changed it to Fridays because Vic, our producer, actually has a real life. So we welcome you. If you're just checking us out on Instagram, you said, "Oh, I want to see it in HD and not all this weird fuzzy, lo-fi Ryan Roxie cell phone crap," then we'll do it. But we are talking to Billy Rowe, currently playing guitar in the band Buckcherry, but you know him, you love him from the band Jetboy. I know him, I super love him as now one of the best guitar builders, because he's making something very special for the next tour. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But let's go back to Styx, 1978, if you will. What gig was it? Was it Cow Palace or was it Oakland Coliseum?
Oakland Coliseum, as that's what we will always call it that, right?
Why? Is it something different?
It's Oracle Arena now, I believe. So.
Okay. So see, both Billy and I grew up in the Bay Area. I think, I grew up in a place called Pleasanton that at the time was just a little cow town, by Danville, the stage in Danville and stuff like that. Yeah, so it was kind of low rent, a couple cows. But now you can't even touch it. You can't even look at it because it's so, opulent. But where did you grow up?
I grew up right in SF, right in San Francisco.
In the city?
Yeah, like proper. Wow. Yeah, 415.
415 area code, dude. Now,
Yeah,
did
yeah.
like Haight-Ashbury area, or were you up in Coit Tower, or was it down?
It was out in the avenues, which is more the suburban area of the city. So out in the Richmond district, as they call it. So close to like
Richmond.
Ocean Beach and Baker Beach and all that. Like,
Was it top of the hill, Daly City? Isn't that somewhere around there?
No, that's more farther south.
South.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So this would be, there's the Sunset and the Richmond district, but out by the Golden Gate Bridge, basically.
Okay, by the what do they call it? The Presidio.
Exactly. I was right outside of the gates of the one of the entrances of the Presidio.
That is an amazing area.
Yeah.
Nice to know, man. So when we talk about, because we've talked about this before, me growing up, my parents definitely took us into San Francisco a lot. The music scene during those days, what a fucking great music scene, no?
Right? Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just that we were both influenced by Styx, but probably had to say it a little bit under our breath at that time. But there was other local, Bay Area bands that were so amazing and killer. And we said we'd talk about some of them, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
who's your favorite?
Oh, from the Bay Area? My favorite?
In the Bay Area.
Well, the local one, like the small local band at the time?
No, it doesn't have to be small local, like big local, because Greg Ken is considered local.
He's local, yeah. Eddie Money.
Yeah. Eddie Mahoney, right?
Mahoney. We had Montrose.
Ronnie Montrose.
Yeah.
I think one of the bigger bands for me was a band called Benny and the Jets. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Almost got to that. And Eric Martin band, the singer.
Yeah.
Because before it was way before Kids, way before Mr. Big, Eric Martin, like back when he was in his early 30s. Because the thing is, he was always old, but looked like a child, right? Yeah. He was always like older than us because he was but because he was so professional, and Bill Graham managed him, I think. And so when the world found him as Mr. Big, it kind of was like no big surprise to us. We knew the guy could fucking sing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, did you ever check out the Squares?
I remember the Squares. That was Satriani's band, right?
Right.
Yeah. Never saw them, but I remember that. I mean, we grew up with Band Magazine, so even if you weren't into the band, you knew who they were.
Right.
You just
and the funny thing is, Band Magazine seems like an LA thing because we both actually moved down to LA at around the same time as well. But Band Magazine actually stands for Bay Area music, right?
Exactly. That's where it started. It started in the Bay Area.
Fuck. Well, and then so that was one scene. Those types of bands: Greg Ken, Straight Ahead, Huey Lewis and the News.
You had Journey, Santana. You go back to the Grateful Dead, and Jefferson.
Well, and some like indie pop bands too. Bonnie Hayes and the Wild Combo. Do you remember them?
Bonnie Hayes, yeah, of course, yeah.
But then they also had a heavier side, and all those bands and you're kind of influenced by everything, I feel, because you have pop influence, you definitely have punk influences. When you look at pictures of Jetboy and early Jetboy, there's definitely punk influence, and then there's heavier stuff too. And do you remember like the old Waldorf and Metallica? What bands did you see back then? Do you remember?
I mean, I saw Metallica. There was Lost Rocket, Testament, Exodus, Death Angel.
Testament was from my hometown, dude. I used to go to keg parties in Dublin, California, and the bass player and I. Well, the bass player played in a friend's band of mine called R&R Crossing, which is a little bit similar to Rock and Roll Relics. Right. But what clubs did you go to? Did you sneak in or did you just kind of get lumped in with your older friends? How did you get in?
Yeah, I went. I think they started having what I remember curfew shows. So I would go to the old Waldorf, and then there'd be the Stone. And then later on, after the old Waldorf, which was Bill Graham's club, they had Wolfgangs. And those were kind of the Stone had the family, right? The Keystone Berkeley, Keystone SF, and then Keystone Palo Alto.
Yes, exactly. Keystone Palo Alto was like the band, where more of the posh bands played. You'd see a band like Steel Breeze. I saw Steel Breeze there.
Oh, amazing.
Here's a band, a Bay Area band that not everyone will remember, and I know you will. Pablo Cruz.
Yes, Pablo Cruz is another one. Yeah.
Oh, guess what year their debut album came out? In 1977.
That's right. Yeah.
You got to find your place in the sun.
That's a great album, great song. We had a lot. I mean, the Bay Area really had the mecca of the biggest bands to this day, really, if you think about it.
You know what? I never take time to think about it because it just kind of happens. It's just part of the DNA. It's part of the backbone.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm thinking in my head while we're talking, we just had Carrie Kelly on a couple of weeks ago, who's now currently playing in Night Ranger.
Night Ranger, yeah. And there you go. Another one.
There's another one.
Yeah.
And then Sammy Hagar, of course. Yeah. Because his connection with, his whole connection with Ronnie Montrose and what is it with Sammy, man? Sammy always plays with great guitar players, man.
Yeah, he definitely does.
And he's a great guitar player himself.
Yeah, he's great himself. I was way into his solo career. Street Machine and Danger Zone, all that great stuff.
Fucking, that was the one that had red, I see red.
Yeah.
Down. Yeah.
That was just a red album. The art was just everything was red. I don't even know if it had a title or not, but
it is. Mark Denzeisen, definitely a friend of the podcast, Mark, and great drummer himself, drummer of so many bands, but in his own solo project. But he mentions Boz Scaggs.
Yeah, Boz Scaggs. Another one, Steve Miller.
Steve Miller.
Yeah.
Well,
you got
there was these.
Right?
Okay, let me ask you this, because we know the club scene, and did you play all three Keystones in any of your bands? Were you ever able to play this Keystone family, Keystone Berkeley, Keystone Palo Alto, and Keystone? Because I was going to go back to that story about Keystone Palo Alto is where you saw the posh band Steel Breeze. Keystone Berkeley was where you saw the more sort of up and coming rock bands. I saw Motley Crue there in front of in front of 70 people. I don't know if you were at that show, but and then the Stone was kind of like the premiere gig where all the because it wasn't right in the city. It was right on Broadway. Across from the Boucher Gardens. But did you that being said, there was these huge concerts that they had, and Bill Graham put them on, called Day on the Greens.
Oh man.
Did you go to any of those?
Oh yeah. That was my first show, was Day on the Green.
Do you remember which one?
I do. It was in 1977. It was the Eagles.
Eagles Miller, headlined.
And then Steve Miller, and then Hart, Atlantic Rhythm Section, and then Foreigner. So Foreigner was the first band I ever saw live, and that would be that'd be their first album.
I wanted to go to that concert. I remember it now. I remember it, but my mom wouldn't let me go to that one because the first concert I'd ever gone to was at, again, Oakland Arena, I guess Oakland Coliseum, but the arena part where the Warriors played. That was Jackson 5.
Oh,
it was on that was the Dancing Machine sort of album. But then I think I wanted to go to that Day on the Green, but the Day on the Green I ended up going on to was Cheap Trick, Molly Hatchet.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, fucking who else? I mean, Journey headlined. I know that. And I think Black Sabbath with Ronnie James Dio went on right before that. So I'm not sure if you went to that one. So so many great bands.
Oh my God, there were like three of them every summer, 3 or 4. So it'd be Dan 1, 2, 3, and 4. They'd be like each month, or like 3 weeks apart. Boy, those were the ultimate.
Have they had those? I mean, I guess in a way, because we were talking right before I ran into the studio, ran out, and then ran back in. We were talking about our buddy Jonathan Daniel, who I played with in Electric Angels, and now he's a entertainment mogul. He's a manager for like some of the biggest bands that are out there. I mean, one of the biggest tours of the summer. He's managing Green Day. Who else? Weezer
and Fall Out Boy.
And Fall Out Boy. So all those 3 bands that are on tour, he manages. He put this concert together. That's sort of like a Day on the Green. They must be playing. Are they playing Oakland Coliseum?
I think no. They're playing actually tomorrow at AT&T Park in the city. So that's right down there off of Townsend.
Okay, so is it where the 49ers play? Or is it where the Giants play?
They're down at Levi's Stadium down in San Jose now. But
okay.
Yeah.
Growing up, did you?
The Giants play.
Okay. Okay. So growing up, did you see, I mean, what was it that turned you on to the guitar, and why was it the guitar?
Uh, yeah, for me it was the gateway was Kiss. You
Really?
know, Kiss Alive. It was Ace Frehley. It was that picture of him in that Alive booklet with the tobacco Les Paul and just the lightning bolts going up his outfit and all that. It was I was hooked. It was all about
Kiss Alive, Kiss Alive album was just a little bit too scary for me. I looked at it and I got a little bit frightened. So it took me a couple years to, I of course I dipped my toe into listening to it, but then when Love Gun came out, that was the one for me. But
Mhm.
I think you have it a little bit more correct, perfect to get into Kiss Alive, because that was
Uh-huh.
a great fucking
Yeah,
record.
that was the first time I ever heard him was the live record, and it was whenever 75 when it came out, and then it's all I wanted for Christmas. My good friend Alex Margoland, who to this day is still one of my closest friends, he turned me on to Kiss, and I bought my first hand me down electric guitar, which was a Memphis double cut, like a cherry, and
Yeah, yeah.
I call him my guitar guru. He was the guy who just got me into it.
Was it a, because I remember the brand Memphis. It was kind of like they made really affordable.
Very
I guess
affordable.
very affordable.
Yes. They were poorly made, but it was an electric guitar.
Yeah. I would, there's that. There's the
Yeah,
picture.
that's it.
Oh,
I mean, how
see,
cool is that?
yeah, it's very cool. And you have the sort of intro. See, I always figured in my mind, for some reason, it was a cherry burst. So there's got to be a picture of Ace with a cherry burst Les Paul, because
Yeah.
for you it was the tobacco burst. But whatever that picture of Ace was with the cherry burst, that's the one that's inspired me to get
Mhm,
so many Les Paul cherry bursts. And
mhm.
it's got, I guess it's the Gibson calls it something different these days. I don't know if it's called a cherry burst.
All these different colors, for the colors, the cherry burst, the tobacco burst, and then the honey burst, and the lemon burst, and dirty burst.
Sunset burst.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I wonder if there'll be a COVID burst.
COVID burst. Christ.
Just green, like a greenish, like sort of.
Yeah.
Blah, blah.
Oh, I love it.
So guitar took you. Did you have teachers? Did you learn yourself? Self-taught
Yeah,
teachers?
for a while. I took lessons at this place in SF called Tree Frog. It was in my neighborhood, and the first real guitar I got, well, whatever, it wasn't real to me, but at the time, but it was like a, classical nylon string, took the basic lessons of stuff, and you're like, I don't want to learn this crap, and then I got this electric, and I took lessons from this guy, Joe DeLoro, who taught at this place called Guitar Studio, I think it was. And again, my friend Alex turned me on to this guy, and he looked like Eddie Van Halen, and he was
Dude.
super Van Halen. So he was the guy who would break down the songs and teach you the arpeggios and certain scales and stuff. But then at the end, you'd learn a song that you bring in and want to learn.
Is it your messages that are blowing up through all this thing?
I think so.
Don't worry. If you need to take a call, I understand, because you got tour managers, you got all that stuff. Billy Rowe is taking the time out of his touring schedule with Buckcherry right now to talk with us on our first In the Trenches Friday. Well, we appreciate you guys all showing up and getting into the chat. Thank you very much. Actually, right there's a comment from Robert who works at Gibson Custom Shop, and he makes a lot of those great recreations, and he does all the Tom. I think he works in the Murphy lab now sometimes as well. I could be wrong, but Robert's amazing dude, and we always see him on the road. So there's my cherry burst.
Right?
All right.
They call that the Budokan.
Is that the Budokan? Shit. All right. So I want to move up a little bit fast forward to where you meet the guys in Jetboy, because I've known Fernie as well for a long time, and we're going to talk about this band, because we've talked about a lot of these bands that from the Bay Area that we loved, but there was one band in particular that both of us, I think, really, really fucking dug, and unfortunately, it never got to the national level because I kind of
Yeah.
feel that it could have been super international. But around the Bay Area, they were kind of like rock gods. And what was the name of that band?
Head On.
There you go.
Yes.
And the guitarist from Jetboy, Fernie, Fern was their guitar tech, right?
Right. He was Frank Wilsey's guitar tech.
Wow.
Because they were all in the Redwood City area, which is, south of SF. And that's where
now that's top of the hill, Daly City, isn't it? A little bit more.
That's close. Pacifica is it's like you go down top of the hill, Daly City, down into Pacifica.
All right.
There. Yeah.
I remember there being some sort of fucking stereo place because they would always put a million ads on it and they'd be selling stereos, and my mother and I would drive there and we'd buy whatever the new boom box was because of we were very impressionable.
Pacific Stereo, is that what it was? Pacific Stereo.
It might have been Pacific Stereo.
That was
top of the hill, Daly City.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the sense in New York where they had this guy named Crazy Eddie who grew up. I mean, my prices are crazy. That same sort of thing was like that in the radio stations that we listened to back then. FM wasn't it Camel or what was it? What was the 106?
There was KFRC. You talking about
that? Was AM radio that we listened to. Yeah. What was the FM station that we
KSAN or KMEL? Camel?
KMEL. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it took a little while because I think later on when Metallica and all those types of heavier bands started busting out, it was like wasn't it
KSJO and there was KOME.
Okay, KOME was more the indie. Wasn't it KRQR?
KRQR, that's another one too. Yeah.
The Quake. I remember that for some reason.
Oh my God, the Quake.
Fucking hell, I do remember that. So anyhow, getting up to the point of this band Head On, getting back to Head On and how we were all influenced. Imagine, people, if you will, Aerosmith meets Hanoi Rocks meets the New York Dolls.
Yeah, Little Cheap Trick.
Meets Cheap Trick, but like with one of the most killer frontmen you've ever seen. Like just like inspired voice, everything. Mick Jagger meets, Alice Cooper, everything, the whole 9 yards. And then Frank playing guitar like he's fucking like he just popped out of Joe Perry's uterus.
Oh and identical.
Like and then the whole band was characters too, and the shows were always fucking entertaining. Howard Tiemann was the drummer of that band.
Drummer and James Ray, the other guitar player, and then
do you remember the looks that James Ray would give on stage?
Yeah, the crazy looks. Yeah, of course. God, they were so good.
Yeah. I mean, us just talking about it now, I'm going back to like either it's the stage in Danville or it's the Stone in San Francisco or it's one of these small clubs, and I would see I can just see those looks and their songs, and everything was hooky and great. So was Jetboy the incarnation of Jetboy? Did they have any Head-On influence?
Oh, I think they had a ton of influence. Especially because of Fern. I met Fern at the old Waldorf, and it was one of those Metal Mondays, and we became fast friends and started the band. And Head On was probably on its way out at that point because I would have been like 83. So they were, kind of like on one leg, like kind of losing.
They had probably already gone down to LA and had the LA thing happen, which happened to so many bands.
LA.
Really?
And they never made it to LA. But they played with Cheap Trick and I think even with Kiss, but it was all within the Bay Area, and it just, if they gone to LA, it probably would have changed for them.
Could have been one show. Dude, if I was working as an A&R guy back then, I would have signed him in a heartbeat.
I think the Bay Area had Head On, and then LA had Motley Crue, because that's what I always thought. It was just, they were kind of like at the same time.
Really? Yeah, I could see that. Like right around the same. I never thought about that because I thought that those guys Head On were kind of like, those are our own, and they're our age.
Yeah.
Motley Crue is a little bit older, just a little bit more.
Yeah.
A little bit more folklore, You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
if I had to make a comparison, and we didn't mention this band yet, I would have said Y&T
Right. Yeah.
was sort of the Bay Area's rock and rollers, and then like in a way,
Yeah. Well, they
Fuck
definitely
Y&T.
They definitely
Y&T.
were a huge piece of the Bay Area for sure.
Y&T at the fucking Warfield. I remember that.
Yeah.
Warfield Theater, Y&T with Hans Naughty opening up. I don't know if you were at that show.
Yeah, I saw Hans Naughty open for Motley Crue. Like I think the show that you saw at Keystone, I saw at the old Waldorf, and then at the Stone.
All right. Folks, if you guys know anything about it, you want to go down that rabbit hole tonight, because it is Friday, go down to the San Francisco music scene rabbit hole of the early 80s, going late, I guess early 80s all the way up. You'll catch all these bands. And Vic put up a picture of Head On, and they were cool, fucking just a cool band and great songs and stuff like that.
They were great. They were so good. So good.
So how did Jetboy now get their start at that time? Did you guys get your start in the San Francisco club scene, or did you guys move down to LA?
It was San Francisco.
Okay.
We didn't play LA for like a year after the band was doing shows.
There it is. Go back to that flyer there, Vic.
That would have been like 85 there, I think. That show. That's when GNR opened for us, and we would open for them in LA.
I love it. You guys did a residency swap, huh?
Yeah.
And if you look at that, you could see that it's the Stone in San Francisco. That's the Keystone family that we were talking about. And if you can go back to that flyer real quick, Vic. Vic, he loves to rush me to get on stage, but then I tell him to keep the photos up.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants to take those off quick too. Come on, buddy. There it is. Heavy Metal Productions. Or is it Kevy Metal? Kevy Metal. And you could tell by 415 area code, dude. It's all there. All right, Jetboy. So when did you guys decide to make that move down to Los Angeles?
Once we had label interest, we had one guy, Steve Pross at Elektra Records, which we originally signed with, and he took interest right away. And once we knew it was going to happen, we ended up relocating. So sorry for this.
Don't worry about it.
These dings, all these dings that are going off, these texts, I get these every morning from Mick Cripps from LA Guns. And it's probably all about the Stones or the Beatles or something of that sort, because he gets, him and I are still really close, and we just.
Mick Cripps is cool as fuck too, dude. That guy,
so there he is again. There's Mick Cripps.
Why don't we just invite him on, because he'd be good to talk about it too.
I would turn this thing off, and I'm not savvy enough to know how to mute the dings. So I should have told him.
Hey, Billy, please put the phone on mute or buzz. Constant ringing will ruin your episode. All right, Chris. Dude, if you didn't see my intro, if that didn't ruin it right out of the gate, me running in, slipping all over this shit, trying to get stuff together,
the beginning,
I don't know what will. But you know what? I watch a lot of.
It's gonna make it funny. We're gonna talk about this now. The Ding Show.
It's gonna be the Ding Show.
Hey, we grew up on the Gong Show, right? Come on,
dude. The Gong Show. What was the name of the host of the Gong Show?
Oh God, he was that. There's that crazy story about him. What was his name again?
Somebody in the chat, the Gong Show 1970s, who was the host? Please tell us. That's the reason I love it. It's almost like having Siri joining us in the chat room, because they are right on it. Chuck Barris. There you go. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Fred. I think Fred put it on there. Chuck Barris was he was the first celebrity I ever I didn't even talk to him. I was a little kid at Ghirardelli Square, which was right by your house, at the chocolate, the chocolate factory, because every weekend my folks would take us. We'd go to San Francisco. We'd drive from Pleasanton because we like to hang out in the park and stuff like that. So I was getting cultured, apparently. So this was before every single parent in the 70s divorced. So, I remember going there, and Chuck Barris was in line. There he is. How did you get that, Vic? That's quick work. Dude, the Gong Show he was the first celebrity that I ever sat or stood in front of, and we were all waiting for our chocolate sundaes at Ghirardelli Square, and you were probably just chilling out at your house 2 blocks away because it's right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was close. That's actually right where Tower Records was. So that was used to take the bus down there as a kid to buy the weekly record if we, with the allowance.
That's where I bought my first album. Yeah, that's where I bought my first album on my own. My grandma bought me Osmond's Live, but then I bought Clearance Clearwater Revival.
Yeah, another Bay Area band.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. They were from Berkeley, I think.
Well, folks, you're listening to Billy Rowe on the Ding episode of In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.
I don't know how to turn the ding off. Do you know how to do that?
You know what? You saw me at the beginning of the show. I was thivisible. Literally, my camera was not picking me up at all, and you could all you could see was a studio. So I have no clue. I know that there's a million people in the chat right now that could definitely help out in 2 seconds, but that's okay. That's okay. So we're down in LA. You're signed to Elektra, same label as Motley Crue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guns N' Roses has opened for you in SF. Now, you guys, I think we were all opening up for GNR at that point on down in LA. And the two of us, because we never knew each other in the Bay Area.
No, we didn't. No.
We met. How did we meet?
It was at a show, or we did a show together. It must have been when you were doing Candy.
A Candy Jam or something like that, right? It must have been a Candy Jam because there's a good shot, folks. Honestly, I mean, hold it up there, Vic. Don't do the lightning rod pull down just yet, because that is a cavalcade of star power right there. So you got Mickey Finn on the far right. That's your lead singer of Jetboy to this day. Mickey Finn, right? And then you got Gilby Clarke in one of the most kick-ass glam jackets that you've ever seen. Then you got a very youthful Ryan Roxie next to Gilby Clarke with some big-ass hair. And then you got a very nice profile shot of Billy Rowe playing that. Was that your main guitar to begin with, that Les Paul?
Jetboy? Yeah, I went through a few. That's actually a Bernie. Is that a Bernie guitar, a replica of the Japanese? Yeah. Okay,
I don't know. Tell us the history of a Bernie.
It was like a Greco. It was the same. Like, you remember the Grecos?
Yeah.
I think that's owned by Ibanez now, but it wasn't a Gibson. You can still find them online, on eBay or whatever. They're like reasonably priced, and I think people go for them now because they're actually good guitars.
Well, let me hear that. Let me see that picture one more time, because there's a couple things I want to point out that made it inherently 1980s. Behind all those drums, folks, and I know Mark Denzeisen will be happy. It could have been Mark Denzeisen, but I'm pretty sure it was John Schubert behind all those drums at that point. And we were probably playing Surrender or a Sweet song.
Right.
I had some spandex on. Gilby had pleather, those leather pants that weren't really leather but pleather, and you never washed them, and they were super, super smelly. And then you had the pirate shirt on, man. That's one that was dude. Got to bring back the pirate shirt.
David Plastic's got a bunch of photos, because the other one who got up after I did was Izzy. Did a song with you guys as well, and Ricky Rackman was singing too.
Izzy Stradlin and Ricky Rackman came up. I mean, there was enough concha belts to start your own Western.
Oh, yeah, that was big time.
What is it called? Concha belts, or what are those things called? Conchas? Mick Cripps, will you please stop dinging Billy Rowe? I'm going to tell.
They said top left of. I don't know what they mean by the top left of.
Top left. All right.
Muting this thing.
Yeah, but we don't want to mute your voice as well.
No,
it's
I know.
The button thing turns off the ringy dingy. One ringy dingy, two ringy dingies, three ringy dingies. Was that a Bay Area show? That was the Laugh-In.
Laugh-In. I don't know if that was a Bay Area show, but
it seemed like it was.
Yeah.
Love American Style. That was another thing that we probably both have in common. Even so much. Didn't you have one of your solo bands afterwards had that vibe of Love American
Yeah, American
Style?
Heartbreak, the band we did, yeah.
Yeah, American Heartbreak.
That's the Jetboy photo there.
Okay, that's the original Jetboy. Go back to that, Vic, if you can.
Yeah, that's like early days.
Yeah. See, I see a little bit of Head On influence. Head On, Hanoi, all those cool album covers, whether it was Two Steps from the Move, we all kind of looked at the same album covers. We all owned the same pirate shirt at one point. There it is. See, Head On, just it's you can see the evolution. You guys just had, you guys had just mastered the crimping iron and the teasing and the, just the right amount of Aquanet that would stick stuff up.
Right.
When was the last time you actually spiked your hair out, Billy?
Oh, it's been a while. Like that? Oh my God. 30 years? We all did that. Look at that shit. Aye. Well, we all walked. We would not go out of the house unless we looked like that, right?
Drunk Jennifer Aniston. I love it. Why does Vic want to take these photos down? I want to see them. You put them up and then you take them down. I love it. You went Western on me. Look, more conchos and the earring itself. That's a weighty thing. That'll see, before there was what are those things that the kids put in their ears now that make their skin that big?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's some sort of tribal stuff.
You could tell we're from the old school when we start going, what are those things that people put in their ears that spaces them out? Because even that is old, right. Even people that have those in their ears are old. So it's like, we're classic now. We're classic Coke. I love it. So
another good one.
Was that when you guys went all, like the TV sitcom? What was that photo shoot idea about?
This was all, the magazine. You remember you were always doing photo shoots with some photographer for Rip or Metal Edge or
we weren't. We never got it. We did one really cool photo shoot with Bob Gruen. That was great. But you know what? You probably had, go back to that photo, Vic, if you could. You probably had Niels Lozauer doing these shots and stuff like that.
Early photos of us. I don't think they ever really got used, but we did shoot with him.
Wow. Yeah, I could. Was Jetboy? It sounds so cliche to say, but were you big in Japan?
We did pretty good over in Japan.
Yeah.
We went over there and they, did a couple shows.
I could see, because the thing is, hold up on that photo for just a second. If you look at the lineup and you see one of the names there, we were talking about Hanoi Rocks being a big. We were talking about Hanoi being such a big influence, so much so that you guys got Sam Yaffa, who was the bassist of Hanoi, in the band. And how did that whole thing come about?
I remember our manager at the time. Do you remember Bridget? Bridget, right?
Yeah, Bridget was managing you.
Yeah. And she asked us if you could have any bass player. This was when we went through the stuff with Todd. Everybody knows the Todd story.
Yeah, I mean, not our viewers might not know because we have a lot of Europeans watching as well. And Todd,
it's our original bass player.
Yeah, and I remember Todd from the Troubadour, and him and I had many conversations that neither of us probably remembered. And Todd Crew. I mean, he's the guy. The reason why you guys love to hear Guns N' Roses play "Knocking on Heaven's Door" to this day, Todd is the inspiration behind that song because Axl would dedicate that song to Todd every single night because Todd passed away really early on. He was one of the first sort of rock and roll casualties of our
he was
sort of overindulgence era, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's a nice way to put something very kind of tough to think about, because it was one of those things. It's like you guys were really on the up and up, everything's happening good, and then this thing happened, and obviously Guns went on to really sort of memorialize Todd with that song every single night. And then you guys are now without a bass player. So what do you do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the story is Todd was, he was going down that road of a lot of drinking, so we just had, it was difficult.
He was definitely a drinker.
Yeah. It was hard to function as a band when we were in a room together and all that. And so we ended up letting him go.
Right.
And that was the big controversy because nobody understood, we're all a team and a family with all us bands, not just Jetboy, but GNR and the whole scene and all that. So people,
there was a camaraderie that you don't, I haven't seen it since in Los Angeles, at least. Maybe it has, there's certain scenes, maybe certain indie scenes, maybe the Silver Lake scene years later, there is this sort of a bunch of bands bonding together. And hopefully it is right now with bands getting together that we have no idea, where they're meeting and what sort of clubs they're playing. But there really was this sort of bonding. And we went to go see, we went to not just check out the band's set and what we could maybe borrow from or what clothing ideas we could sort of get inspiration from, but we also went on there to cheer them on, these other bands.
Yeah. So we were all supporters of each other, and it was, and friends. It was like one big ass rock and roll high school for real. That's what it was. Kind of all revolving around Ricky and Tammy's Cat House. Yeah.
In a way, on Tuesdays.
I'm told from David Plastic, that photo of us, that's where that was. I thought it was the whiskey. I could be wrong, but
that was it.
He said David Plastic took that, said it was the Cat House. So. Okay.
Wow, because I don't remember doing a jam with at the Cat House with those backdrops. Yeah. Remember there was a pink and black backdrop and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, if we don't remember, it's probably what it was.
Okay, but look at there's a PA. There was would know. Mark Denzias would know. He knows all those clubs. I think that the fact that there was a drum monitor right behind the thing that smells like the whiskey.
That's what I I'm with you on that for sure.
It definitely wasn't Madam Wong's West, because Madam Wong's West had those doors right in the back of the drums. So
I'm going to say the whiskey.
Okay. Okay. So we're getting to how you got Sam, because we're having this bond, all of our bands in that era. And one of the bands that we're all kind of looking up to is Hanoi Rocks. And then so we're all looking up at you guys going, how the fuck did you get Sammy in the band?
I know. Yeah. Well, we like Bridget asked us, if you could have any bass player. I remember her saying that. Who would you want? And I think it was me who said, what about Sam Yaffa? Because we were everybody was,
Is that's a picture of you guys when, like, you're before Sam's in the band? Because I see Michael Monroe and you are competing for whose hair is blonde.
Right. We're competing. That's actually when we played the Cat Club in New York for the first time, and Mike was living in New York, and he came to the show, and he got up and did a song with us and played harmonica. And so Sam had been in the band for almost a year at this point, probably.
Just so you know, that could be Michael Monroe dinging Billy right now, because and that's the story we're going to now.
It is Mick Cripps. So.
Would you tell Mick? Can you message him back and just say, you know what, dude, I'm doing a podcast with Roxie, and he'd love to have you on. Mark Denzias says that those pictures are from the whiskey. So there you go. And didn't Bridget, your manager from Jetboy, she also managed Guns for a while, right? Or did she not?
I think she did work with them for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think they were all living up of Sunset. Because didn't Bridget live up from the whiskey? Didn't she have an apartment up there? Maybe not by that time.
I think it was off of Franklin. It was close. There was there was a few places she had. So we all moved around then, right? At least I know she did. She had like 4 apartments in the time she was managing us.
She's connected. Bridge is connected, man. There was a lot of people that I would like to get in the scenes. You remember Desi Benjamin as well?
Yeah, of course.
Because Desi, I want to have on the podcast at one point, folks, to talk a little bit more. He's more of a historian of that whole scene. He knows it. He actually made a movie of it. Were you guys part of that movie, that documentary that he made?
No, okay. No, I saw pieces of that. That,
I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting to have him on the show so that we can really, do a deep dive into it and stuff.
Yeah.
So there it is. Desi Benjamin shout out. And you know what? It's not that I not ignoring any emails that you've sent me. We're just trying to schedule in, but we've changed our dates. To be honest with you folks, Billy Rowe was one of my first interviews that I had for this podcast. Like when I first started it, right?
Yeah.
In the trenches.
A long time ago.
But we never aired that episode.
Yeah.
So
never aired it. That's right.
So by the time that, if we could air, because we were always saying, oh, well, we'll air it if we have a week where we're not doing, where we're, where we're tough for a guest and stuff, we'll just put that episode in because we have something. And I was like, no, let's get Billy in now because there's a lot to talk about, not just, him currently being on tour with Buckcherry and all the stuff that he's doing with Jetboy to this day, because the last album that you put out in, I think it was 2019, Born to Fly.
Yeah.
Is there something new coming out with Jetboy as well?
Not right now. No.
Okay.
We're going to be doing some cover record, but that's kind of like in the works type thing. So.
And what are you able to reform with a lot of the original guys for any of these shows, or who's in the lineup now?
It's been primarily myself, Mick, and Fernie.
Front row is pretty consistent.
Yeah. And we really just do it when all our live schedules line up properly, and so
is Ron Tordenson? Do I have it right?
Tostenson. Yeah, our original drummer Ron. No, he's got a contracting business and he still plays. He's gotten up a couple shows at the Whiskey that we did, probably going on 8 years earlier now or longer, but he's got his own thing going now and just doesn't really play music as much.
What about Charles? Is Charles?
Yeah, he did. He actually stepped in for when we did the Cat House thing not long ago, like 5 years ago. But he lives in Norway.
Aha. All right. Fucking dude. Because I was looking at your members and I was like going, okay, current members, that's reasonable. I see a current 5-member lineup, but then I go in past members. Who do you guys think you are? LA Guns?
I know. You look at that sometimes with these bands now, and it's amazing the past list.
I know, but no one's as amazing as LA Guns. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of your rite of passage to be an LA musician. You have to have played a gig or be associated with someone that's played a gig firsthand with LA Guns. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking at yours. There's a lot of names on the former members. And now I'm thinking your current band that you're jamming with Buckcherry, there's some members in that band too. There's a little bit of history in that band.
Yeah. I think if you're around long enough, you're going to have a list. Unless you're, the only ones that don't are the big guys.
Well,
even Cheap Trick have a list now, right?
Well, Cheap Trick has all their sons.
Yeah, exactly.
But well bred. Like it's like rock and roll pedigree. It's supposed to be that way. I mean, if you hear Dax play drums, Dax Nielsen, who's Rick's son, he now plays drums in Cheap Trick. He's perfect fit for it. He's right there. And there's a ticket of Cheap Trick, Jetboy opening up for Cheap Trick. It is.
That was from the Pink section. Remember that? The date book and the Chronicle Examiner
the
on
Pink
Sunday.
Section of the San Francisco Chronicle. If you can go back to that shot right now, I just want to show you folks. When we do it on In the Trenches, we're so fine with our egos that In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie is not as big of a font as plus special guest Billy Rowe. See, we make it kind of equal, I think, but hey man, to be put as special guest with Cheap Trick, what an honor. That's great.
Yeah, that was yeah.
But now currently, that's a good shot of you and Tom Peterson and somebody getting their head in is the first lean in.
Yeah, that was the highlight of touring in those days. We toured with them for a while.
You did?
Yeah, we did.
Did they invite you on stage for the last song?
Yeah.
What song did you do?
He's a Whore.
Oh, fuck yeah. In D. The key of D. I love that. First album, Jack Douglas.
That's right.
Fuck, man. So that would be the song who came up on stage to jam with Cheap Trick when you would do that?
It was the end of the tour, and it was, I guess it was, I think we all went up. I think actually Bunny gave the sticks to Ron, and he sat down and played his kit. And Bunny just stood there and sipped a drink or whatever, and
Smoked a cigarette.
Smoked a cigarette. Yeah.
Love it.
And I think,
Love it.
yeah, Sammy played bass and Tom stood there. I think they just kind of handed instruments, and Nielsen played and Xander sang and Mick, and we all came out. It was the whole band. It was like both bands just mashed up.
But how do you do it now? Because you've always had a bit of a cool vibe. You don't seem so starstruck. And now that you make guitars and you build guitars for some of the biggest names that are in the business, are you ever sort of dumbfounded by the rock stars that you meet, or does that little kid part still come out sometimes, or do you always just kind of
cool. It has to. Yeah, little kid is always.
I can't hide it.
No, you can't. Actually, when we had a layover in Denver, getting to where we are right now, and me and Stevie were about to get some food, and he's like, "Whoa, there's Billy Gibbons." And
what, you saw him?
Yeah, we like talked to him and took a picture, and I know Buckcherry's played with ZZ Top a few times, so they know each other, but not when I was in the band. But I'm like, you're just standing there, and I'm like, this is Billy motherfucking Gibbons. He was super
so it's
cool.
you and Stevie. It's you and Stevie D as the guitarist in the current lineup.
Yeah,
Josh is front in the band. Josh Todd, Stevie D. Yeah. You got Kelly and Francis as well.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And the tour's going good. The shows are going good. And
going good.
Mick Cripps is not wanting to be third guitar player in the band yet, or is that what all the dings are for?
Yeah, exactly. Well, oddly enough, Cripps and I do have, or it's more his thing, called the Plunkets, which you would know where that came from. Plunkett.
Well,
being a fan of a certain team.
Are you saying the Jim Plunketts?
We have
he's a Raider. He's like an old Raider, and he actually won the Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Raiders. But Jim Plunkett.
Right. Yeah. And so a friend of ours, Patrico, who's a Bay Area guy, and Cripps are good friends. And we put this band, a cover band. It's kind of a goofy, fun band, do covers, and call it the Plunkets because Cripps and Patrico are huge Raider fans.
You know what? I know Plunkett's whole career. He started out as a New England Patriot. And folks, this is like back in the day when New England couldn't win a game. For decades, they were the worst team. For like decades, they were the Browns. They were the Browns before the Browns have been the Browns. Well, they were kind of like exactly the same as the Browns because the Browns the Browns were good maybe 1 or 2 years all through those eras. But I remember Plunkett coming over as a Raider saying he's washed up. He's never going to do anything. And then he fucking won the fucking Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. The Plunkets. Great name. Great band. My new favorite band. I love it. Well, you know what we got to do? We've been shit. Do you got time or you got to split?
No, I'm good.
Okay, because I'm going to get shit going quick. I don't know why we start rambling. I know exactly why. We start rambling and we start talking about SF and we start talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. But we have a whole bunch of new stuff to talk about, especially the guitar company, Rock and Roll Relics. That's coming up right there. Jim Plunkett endorses it, and definitely check out the Plunkets and you know what? Somebody, if they have Mick Cripps' private number, please text him right now. Tell him to stop dinging us on our episode because we are going to go for a quick commercial break right now. And these are short, folks. When we do In the Trenches breaks, we don't do these super long commercial breaks because we know your time is important. We appreciate you coming out for our first ITT Friday. But let's go for a commercial break. These are all about Beyerdynamic microphones. Let's do that. Hello, Ryan Roxie here, host of the In the Trenches podcast, and I also play guitar for Alice Cooper. I just wanted to take a second to talk about what mic you're hearing me speak through and what headphones I choose to listen to all my audio with. My go-to podcast and live performance mic is this TG V70 dynamic vocal mic. And when I'm recording acoustic stuff, I'll always mic it up with the Beyerdynamic M160 double ribbon mic. I listen to everything with the DT 1770 Pro headphones unless I'm out and about. That's when the Eventho wireless headphones really make listening to music, podcasts, or any other audio app that's on my phone ultra high fidelity and latency free. Check out their official site or the links below in the description of this video to find out more about what makes Beyerdynamic a musician's choice in pro audio mics and headphones. Now, let's get back into the trenches for some more rock and roll. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the ride. Thank you very much. Vic Chalfant just made us a new commercial over the weekend, and that's Beyerdynamic. Thank you very much, Beyerdynamic, for powering us up and allowing us to have Mr. Billy Rowe as our special guest today on In the Trenches Friday. If you're listening to us again on audio, make your way on over to the Ryan Roxie official channel. And if you are listening to us for the first time, I can't reach it, but hit that subscribe button and come check us out every single Friday from here on out, especially when we're on tour with Alice Cooper coming up in just a couple weeks. And paving the way, they're the tour dates, Alice Cooper and, of course, Ace Frehley. We've been talking about him, Billy. But you know what?
Good.
That's so much in the future. That's way in the future that we're talking with Alice and Ace going out, because currently, presently, right now, tonight in Minnesota, Buckcherry is rocking the house, and they're on tour. They're the brave pioneers going there. Look at that. Good shit. Relic amps, dude.
Yeah.
Look at that. Is that you and Stevie D right there?
Yeah, and Francis in the background there, pounding the drums.
Nicely done. Do you actually relic your cabinets as well?
No, those are naturally relic through the years.
Beautiful.
I've had those since like '88.
Go back to that picture if you can, Vic. Look at those.
Of course, Gear Geeks always notice that stuff. I love it,
dude. Honestly, we were talking about that the other day because that's what we're diving into now.
Right.
Gear Geeks and equipment freaks. A relic like cabinet hasn't been done yet, and we could be the first people to do it.
Yeah,
maybe what we have ideas, folks. We have lots of ideas pumping together, and that's what we're here to talk about. Is Billy Rowe's guitar company called Rock and Roll Relics. What got you into being a guitar luthier?
Well, this was super natural progression for me. But I built a guitar in high school, and I was always into tinkering with guitars. And after high school, of course, Jetboy started, but I would I had an old Strat and I painted it hot pink and put a mirror guard on it and, swapping out pickups. And through the years, I was just kind of into doing my own thing with just certain guitars until I found that Gretsch White Falcon. It really was until I think moved back to San Francisco after the LA stint with Jetboy ended. And in the 90s, I just started doing the same thing, building some parts guitars for fun. And eBay comes along, and you start seeing this relic guitar thing happening on a real small level, just like small builders selling stuff on eBay. Really, I remember it was Nash Guitars, which, if you know Relic stuff, he's one of the first guys to be out there doing it. So I started building a few, and I threw one on eBay, and it sold, and just slowly just turned into Rock and Roll Relics. I built a website, and I had no plans of doing what I'm doing right now. It all just organically happened.
Well, I definitely had you relic a couple of my guitars over the years. Yeah, and so many of them actually. The SG is great. The Billy Joe Armstrong Les Paul Jr. that I have is reliced by you as well.
Right.
A couple Les Pauls that you've done over the years. The thing is, I'm imagining that in high school. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You were in wood shop, and you made it. It was probably an elective, and you used it. You got it to get a good grade and stuff. You got an easy A and stuff like that because you made a guitar. I made a wooden bowl. That was it. I think I carved out a wooden bowl, and it was really crappy, but I still own it to this day, and it weighs about 20 pounds. But at least you made a guitar, something functional and nice. Rock and Roll Relics is now gotten to the point where you're making guitars for like some super big names, and Dragon, there's Chris putting it in there right there, being one of the names that you have played with and built a guitar for.
Right.
One of those models. What's it like building a guitar for, let's say, a guy like Dragon or Billy Joe Armstrong, the guy that now we grew up kind of listening to, or maybe he was a little bit younger. He's more into the punk scene, but like now you're building guitars for him. What's your relationship like with him, and how did that all come about?
That all came about going back to the Plunkets. The singer of the Plunkets, Patrico, is very close with Mike Dirnt, the bass player at Green Day. And so I met him through him coming to a Plunket show, and he saw my stuff, and he just said, Billy Joe would love your stuff. And if he sent him my website and hit me up and bought a guitar and started following me on Instagram. He's just been a huge supporter and a fan of what I do. And really once he came on board with Rock and Roll Relics, it really jumped a big level for me. So
yeah. Well, I remember you had guitars. You had Relic guitars for me already, but then you had Gilby Clark. You did a model for Gilby Clark, right?
Gilby, yeah.
And Bruce Kulick as well.
Yeah, we did something with Bruce.
And I remember Mike saying something to me about Billy, saying, Billy's a shredder at heart. We're a punk band, but he can also shred. But he rarely shows that side of his playing. Yeah. Now, have you ever listened to him shred in front of you?
He's a great guitar player, and he's a huge fan of like our era of the LA scene, because he's a few years younger.
Right.
And so him and Mike Dern have been playing together for years, and Green Day started off doing like Def Leppard covers and Kiss covers from like the non-makeup era, So he's a fan of the Crew and Rat and that whole genre, and then of course the punk rock he got into, and that's a whole nother thing. But I remember when he's got a guitar shop in Oakland called Broken Guitars, and when I delivered one of the early ones he got, and we just clicked talking about how great the guitar tones on Def Leppard's High and Dry are, and that's probably some of the best rock tones recorded.
Well, it's basically an AC/DC record on steroids. That's Mutt Lange taking like all the experience and all the beauty of the AC/DC records that he had done, and then putting it into infusing it into this youthful band that's just like fucking out of the gate. Let's do it. Let's fucking rock. And it's just such a perfect album. That is my favorite Def Leppard album of all the albums. I must say, it's to me, it's like songs, everything, just straight ahead rock and roll. It's before I get it. The era after that was magical. It was huge, pyromania, hysteria, all those things, the production, the background vocals. But this, if you want straight ahead fucking rock and roll, it's either High and Dry or On Through the Night. Those two albums just are like fucking killer. No doubt about it. But you can't say anything bad about the later era stuff as well, because when Phil came in to the band, he took it up and took it up to a different level, and now now with God, I forget now who's all in the band now. Is Vivian in the band?
I think Vivian's in the band. Yeah, I think they have a list of former members now too.
Yeah, so it's now it's a little bit more like, oh shit, these guys are fucking real musicians. Everybody playing in the band, they're really accomplished. Whereas like High and Dry was still a little bit punky, a little bit edgy, a little bit like there might be some wrong notes here and there. And, I like all of that. I like it. I like polishing it, but then buffing it out, like relicing it. Exactly what you do at Rock and Roll Relics.
Perfect way. You gotta have a little rough edges in the music. Can't be too perfect.
Like making something like, really nice and beautifully burst, like a nice burst finish, but then spray painting over it, some crazy like white sort of yellowish color, but then fucking it all up and sanding it all down. Holy folks, what is that? What is that?
Holy shit.
There you go, folks. There's your Easter egg right now. We're looking right now live into the Rock and Roll Relics guitar paint studio, and this is what they're making right now. Can you freeze it, Vic, if it's possible to freeze it with just the picture of the front of the guitar? There you go. Thank you very much, Vic. Folks, right there, that could be COVID burst. Maybe that's what we'll call this finish on this guitar. I don't really know if I want that, but folks,
no, it'll be COVID free, but
this is the guitar. You could see it being painted right now. That is going to be my first Rock and Roll Relics original, because Billy, this is your original fucking design. Tell us about it and tell us where the inspiration from it came. I think
this one came from there's a somebody I became friends with through, of course, like the Instagram world and the internet world, named Dave Kerr. And he's a designer. He's from England, but he lives in China now. works for a toy company or something. Who did that designing? But he had some ideas, and the base of this design he had and sketched out, line drawn like. And he hit me up. He goes, "I'd love to, see you do this, even if it's a one-off for me." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm totally into it. Let's work together on this." And I think I did like one tweak on the upper horn, and then came up with the headstock. And so we matched our designs up. And
what are you calling that design?
It's called the Revenge model.
Okay.
Yes.
So this will be Roxie's Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. That guitar that you just saw, folks, is being built as we speak. So that I can hopefully, fingers crossed, I can take it. It'll be ready by the time this tour starts, and I can take it out there and play it on a nightly basis. And you guys can all see it when you're out there on tour. Yeah. That's amazing.
It's finished being painted, and so yesterday the Seymour Duncan showed up. So we have the pickups. They're zebras. They're so everything is
zebra striped pickups, Seymour Duncan pickups. What kind of neck were you able to get on it? Were you able to get that Gibson scale, or what kind of style was it?
Oh, on the actual neck of the guitar?
Yeah,
that's a Gibson scale. I mean, it's that, and it's a compound radius, so it's a little bit flatter.
Okay,
what you would have, but you're really not going to notice it much. It's minimal.
Compound radius is one of those like sort of buzzwords that guitar players love to hear with the neck. Oh, compound radius, because it's easier to go up the neck, and right?
Yeah, it gets a little
supposed
flatter.
To be.
Yeah, so for bending, it's going to be a little easier and a little more fluid,
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, what are you going to use? What else do I have to say? The finish, because what you folks saw was basically just a spray painted yellow guitar, but I gave you a little bit of clues in between. Before that, there's a bit of a tobacco sunburst. And what are we going to be doing? We're going to be relicking all that off, so it looks like a.
You'll see the burst underneath. So we'll do it in the spots where your arm would, wear out the finish and stuff like that. So the top coat's really thin, and we'll do, we'll do some stuff around the knobs, from spinning them on and off, and it's going to be.
If
good.
You want a guitar to look as that sort of ages with you, Rock and Roll Relics is the perfect company to go to, because you can see that, the guitar is going to look like you've already been playing it for a while. And I love that. It's got that worn in feel. Mm-hmm. And of course, Mick Cripps is going to fucking want it right now. Maybe even Mick Cripps saw it. He's does Mick actually like play any of your guitars as well?
He does not have any.
Okay, not yet. Mm-mm. He hasn't seen Roxie's Revenge yet, though, dude.
No, but I like that idea of the name, don't you?
Roxie's Revenge. It named itself. On this show, we just named this guitar. That particular guitar has to be Roxie's Revenge. Don't you think?
I think so.
I think we've just done it. And if anybody wants to check out more of Billy's designs and all that kind of stuff, because we are going to sort of wrap things up a little bit. I'm not saying we're going, so don't go away just yet. But I want to get everybody Billy's contact info of how to get in touch with him. So Billy, for the people that are listening on the audio broadcast, tell them how to get in touch with you and Rock and Roll Relics.
Well, the best is to go to the website rockandrollrelics.net, and then from there you can venture off into the Instagram, Facebook, and all that. That's really all I use for the guitars is Facebook and Instagram. Instagram being the main one, so that's pretty easy to find. R&R Relics.
And then you have a few others that Vic just put out as well. I've been trying to find it, Billy Rowe 66. I couldn't find it all week trying to promote this show. So,
I'm active on. I'm trying to get it more active, but I think that's where it comes up in the search when you're a little more active.
Well, I'm trying. Just go to Rocks and Roll Rock, and you know what? And maybe in about a month's time, you can just Google search Roxie's Revenge, and it won't be me having indigestion. It'll be me with a nice guitar.
We paint that on the back, Roxie's Revenge.
We'll figure out something. We'll figure out something for it. Dude, I'm excited. I'll see you in a couple days. I mean, you guys got the show tonight. You guys got the tour. How much longer does the Buckcherry? Oh wow, you got links for days. How many?
Bunch of links. Now that's it. Yeah, the Buckcherry links, the Jetboy links, Rock and Roll Relic links, and then the personal ones.
Jesus. Okay, folks.
All right.
It's been a little bit of an infomercial for Billy Rowe in the last couple minutes. You can go back and check out all those links. But all you really need to know is Rock and Roll Relics, because that's the one that I know that all your designs are on. You want to check out all the different types of guitar designs that he's done, and as well as all the relicing that he does as well. So if you're a guitar player out there, Billy Rowe is your guy. Honestly, I've been not just a fan of your playing, and now that I know that we've had kind of like very similar musical upbringings, you know, Bay Area down to LA. The only difference is I moved to Europe, and you went back up to SF for a while, but now you're back in LA.
Yeah, for a while, and then 3 years ago back to LA.
Yeah. But Bay Area boys sticks.
And there's one there.
When was that taken? Was that back in the day with Jetboy?
You were not. You were out. You know, you had left for a while. So that was in 2009. That was at the.
That's
Warfield.
when I moved to Sweden.
The Warfield.
Did Jetboy play with Alice at the Warfield?
Did that's right.
That's a good show. That's a good show. Damn, I would have liked to have joined the band even for just that night, but I was in Sweden at that point.
I know.
Looking guys. So how's everybody doing in the band? How's everybody doing in the? I mean, I can obviously know you're tight with Mick Cripps because he's been dinging us the entire show. But what about the other guys in Jetboy? You talked to Fern and Mick.
I talked to Mick the other day. You know, we keep up pretty regularly. You know, so Mick just moved. He was in Hawaii for years. He just moved to Vegas, so he's closer. You know, when he was in Hawaii, it was hard to do stuff together and hang out and stuff. Work on music.
Quick question. I try to get things in sort of segments, but I usually end up going off on tangents. But this is one we call the one that got away. And the reason why I like to ask this question is because we have animation that goes with it. So, big. And I feel the guy in the animation is kind of like all of us, with the black nail polish looking out at the window, the rain coming down.
Yes.
But the one that got away is inspired from our friend Stanley Gable. And we're asking you about a piece of gear that you wish you still had. And how did you have to sell it? Was it stolen? Or, how did you get rid of it? And do you, what was it?
Yeah, it was actually my first, if you want to consider real electric guitar, because it was a Gibson. It was a 69 SG Special.
Okay.
So it could have been cherry, but it was faded brown, and it had the P90s in it, and of course it was influenced by Angus, a super AC/DC fan at that point. Well, still. And that one got away.
Doesn't Angus's brother play one of your guitars as well?
Actually, the what is it? The nephew, Stevie Young.
Stevie Young,
got one, which is the Starfighter model I have, which is Malcolm.
That's gotta be cool, man. That you're sort of idols and family members of your idols are all playing your guitars now.
Yeah.
So what happened to that guitar, that SG?
I actually traded it to somebody in the Jetboy days. This one guy who was playing bass with us before Todd, and I just that's another one there in that photo there. That was my 54 ES 175, my first hollow body.
Fuck, I had the same one, dude.
That away too, but the SG was my first one. It was more, more personal because I was like 14 or whatever.
When did you switch, or did you ever switch? Because that's how I kind of remembered you in Jetboy, was the guy that played the semi hollow bodies and the hollow bodies, and you were kind of like the cooler dude that kind of sat in the back, a little bit of the Malcolm vibe, if you will. Even though you did play lead and you and Fern shared leads, it's just that you had a little bit more of that, hollow body, semi hollow body guitars. Did you always have the Les Pauls as well combined with it?
Well, in the early Jetboy days, I had more like the solid bodies, and I wasn't, I got that first hollow body I got. It was an influence of Andy McCoy, Hanoi Rocks.
Fuck,
He was playing
White Falcon
body, and yeah. And then the Falcon was the Malcolm Young influence. By then I got, I started dissecting the hollow bodies and the heroes that played them, and then the White Falcon was like the pimp daddy of guitars.
I think the guitar that you made for Dragon is fucking killer. It's not made for Dragon. It's one of your own designs as well. But what is that? It's and I don't know if Vic has a picture of it, but it's a semi hollow body. What design is that called?
It's called the Lightning model. So it's a hollow body F hole model, and the F holes are lightning bolts.
Lightning bolts.
Yes.
What do you think? You think that Ace might he might dig on that?
That would be cool, right?
Wouldn't he see? He's going to have to see one on the tour at least one time, because his own friggin' guitar player Ryan Cook is playing one of your guitars.
Right. Yeah, he's got the Thunders model right now.
But no one has a lightning bolt out there.
No, not in that camp. But there's we've sold a few of them. There's a few out there. Dragon being the big name that's playing one,
right?
Which is pretty cool. So.
Well, I have one last question for you, then I'm going to let you go and do your sound check and do everything. I really appreciate you taking the time, Billy Rowe. Guitarist, currently on the road with Buckcherry, and you can also go check out Jetboy, and of course Rock and Roll Relics, because he's between all these different gigs, he's also has time to make killer guitars, especially ones like Roxy's Revenge.
Right.
The guitar that will be coming out on the next tour. But this last question is, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. One of the biggest songs that Jetboy had was Feel the Shake. And is it fact or fiction that it is the current goal celebration for the NHL's Philadelphia Flyers?
Yes, that is true. Yes.
Fact.
Yes.
Fact, folks. In fact, that ding signifies that it's a fact. In fact, from now on, that should be our new sound, Vic. When something's a fact.
Be the ding episode. Oh my God, it's hilarious.
So how did that happen? The Philadelphia.
Yeah, they emailed us, and somebody who was part of that, putting that together, is again a fan of this era of the '80s rock LA thing, and was a fan of that song and thought it would be a good one for the team. So
I love it. Well,
yeah, that was pretty cool.
Does it make any money, or is it like Spotify money where you can actually buy an ice cream cone at the end of the year?
Not something from it. And of course MCA owns the rights to the recording, so they're the ones making the money.
Yeah.
Credit and the repetition, and they get the.
It's always got to be back to the man. That's why you start your own guitar company, and that because record companies can't take guitar actual royalties, or can they? I'm not sure what contract you signed. But they can't take my podcast money, which is very little to none, and they can't ever take my producer. That's the one thing they can't do, because we've got Vic under wraps. He signed his life. We changed the day for the damn podcast to Fridays for Vic. That's what we've done for you. And you know what, folks? With that, we're going to let Billy Rowe. Oh, there's that guitar. Look at that lightning bolt. I love it. It's really nice looking, dude. Wouldn't Dave Grohl like that? But I know he's tied in with his own. He's tied with his own Gibson model there. But I think Grohl would love it. But
He would love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fuck. What about one of the guitar players from the Foos? Somebody. I mean, everybody plays guitar in that band, but I mean,
Chris Shiflett, the other guitar player, who he's an old fan of our era as well. I guarantee he was an Electric Angels fan, a Candy fan. He's actually in the Feel the Shake video in the audience when he was a kid.
Who is?
Chris Shiflett from the Foo Fighters.
He's in the Feel the Shake video. Vic, do you have that clip? Can you put it up right now? Let's go.
I mean, it's like a quick clip of the audience, and he's there. He's the one who told me. I would have never known that.
But you must understand, I asked my producer Vic to do impossible things, which he never can do, and sometimes he'll actually do it. I mean, fuck, he got a picture of what was the thing that you got the picture of? And I was like, Jim Plunkett. Yeah, there's Jim. Is that Chris in your video? Because he looks like Jim Plunkett. That's what I'm thinking. So anyway, folks, we're going to wrap up our first ITT Fridays. We've been hanging out with Billy Rowe, Jetboy, Buckcherry, and as well Rock and Roll Relics. All those links. There's so many of them. Go check them all out right now. And I think we have a mystery guest on next Friday. Is that what it is? Because, and I guess the way we should go out, because usually we do this thing, Billy, we call Fan of the Week. And this week, obviously, we're going to let King run for another week as Fan of the Week because we are all fans of a man that passed away just a couple days ago, Mr. Charlie Watts.
Yes.
And we wanted to be fans of him for this next week, and obviously far, far beyond our tribute and our best wishes to Charlie Watts' family and the Rolling Stones. And hopefully they keep this leg of the tour running and rolling in his spirit and his honor. And so, obviously we're all Stones fans. You've played with a lot of them, Cheap Trick, a lot of the greats, a lot of these bands Jetboy's played with. Did you ever do anything with the Stones?
No. Well, that would have been amazing, but no.
What about Ron Wood playing? Maybe Ron or Keith playing a Rock and Roll Relic. I mean, they are Rock and Roll Relics. They're literally.
They kind of created the Rock and Roll Relics.
They did, huh?
That would be.
They're the inspiration behind all of them. There's so many of those album covers, so many of those pictures. So
I did one for Nielsen a long time ago. He got one.
Rick Nielsen?
Nielsen, yeah. I built him one a while back. It's been a while now, but probably 6 years ago or something like that. He got a double cut, one of Thunder's model. So, of course, that's huge. I mean, you and I could do a whole episode on Cheap Trick. So it's
we could do a whole episode on the song "He's a Whore" because, I mean, you played it with the actual band. I was able to play it with couch riffs. When I did it with Mike Squire, he's been on the podcast, and we've done we've done couch riffs before. Have you ever done couch riffs yet?
Yeah, I did. I did it NAMM time with Sully from Sully Guitars. And
okay, what songs did you
do? We did "Toys in the Attic."
Oh, fucking great song too. Old school Aerosmith.
Yeah.
That's a good era Aerosmith. I love it.
Very much.
Shit. Well, Charlie Watts, you're in our thoughts. And you know what? Tonight, Minnesota, Buckcherry, go check them out. And if you're watching this at a later date, our next guest will be a mystery. We're going to announce it on Monday because Federica, our social media coordinator, has this amazing idea of putting please put it up again, because it's so mysterious, Vic. It's our mystery guest, September 3rd. Again, on a Friday. That'll be next Friday, September 3rd. I think it's time to wrap it up, Billy. One last thing I'll ask you, any parting words of advice that you live by that you can inspire the other people watching right now?
Oh, I don't know. Not nothing too, just, I don't know. I just try to keep the positive way of thinking, and that's about it.
All right. What's fine? Because
a kid out of you, like we do, as well. We always stay this super rock fan, and
I just asked that question because Rain Kramer, was on the podcast, and he said just brush and floss your teeth.
Yeah, well,
and that was like really good advice.
It's good advice.
And you've probably made a guitar for Wayne Kramer as well.
No, I haven't. No Wayne yet.
He would be a good one though. He would be a good one. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? We'll talk later. We'll see how the evolution of Roxie's Revenge is coming along, folks. That is the new guitar that I will be unveiling on the next Alice Cooper tour, which is coming up in just a couple weeks. So, more updates to follow. But in the meantime, make sure you go follow all of Billy's social media and you keep spreading the word about In the Trenches. Until next time, folks, from Vic, the RGA, Federica, everybody that's in on the RGA, and everybody, Billy Rowe, thank you very much for being in the trenches.
Yeah, that was good.
Everybody else.
Sorry for the dings. I'll give it to Mick Cripps.
Oh, and Mick Cripps for making this the official Friday.
50-something texts from them.
The ITT Friday Ding Edition. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the ride, folks.
Yeah.
Later.
Trenches with Ryan Roxie.